"22 kilometers as the crow flies from the administrative offices of Primorsky Krai, a female leopard, on a frosty moonlit night, willingly accepts the courting of a handsome male. She has hunted with him, has shared her last piece of meat with him. 3 months later, however, as he makes the rounds of his expansive home range, this suitor ganders into a familiar gully, only to be thunderstruck by the greeting that he receives. Obviously confused, he can't understand what might be the reason for his girlfriend's radical change in behavior. Nothing is left of their former romance. There is little doubt that he's being shown the door. Such is his lady's rage that our suitor prefers to meekly make an exit rather than risk his health. And the reason this male is exiled from the female's range is this. A new member of this proud troop of Far Eastern Leopards has made an appearance on the scene. For the most endangered yet bravest troop of leopards on Earth, has thrown yet another challenge, not just to the power of nature, but to the human race as well. Remarkable hearing. The capacity to see not only in daylight, but also in total darkness. Paws that step through the forest softly, without a sound, but ready in an instant to launch a muscled body into a 6-meter leap. The skill to patiently creep up on cautious prey at lethally close quarters, or to wait for hours in ambush on a trail as the victim moves in closer and closer, only to receive a powerful blow from a paw with dagger-sharp claws. There is no more professional or successful hunter on the planet. Among the meat-eaters of the planet, the leopard is undoubtedly the most refined of nature's creations, even though he was created for a life in a warm climate. The leopard has flourished in Africa and in India, but only the Far Eastern subspecies has found a way to survive in a new, unfamiliar land, which is bound in bitter cold half of the year, where half the animals find hideaways to sleep away the winter. You can't say our leopard is fond of snow. The white stuff brings him no joy. But he has learned to live and to hunt in this frozen, snow-covered land. Winter survival in the taiga has left its mark, and not only on the animal's appearance, having rewarded him with long fur and a luxuriant, fluffy tail. There have also been changes in behavior. As his southern colleagues raise hell in India, fearlessly entering villages in search of prey, and even eating humans, the Far Eastern leopard has taken a quiet and peaceful leave of absence from humans. The original natives, armed with bows and arrows, gave him no trouble. But Russian immigrants disrupted this historical peace agreement, as shots rang out in the Ussuriysky taiga. At first, the leopard was simply a rare and prestigious trophy for well-to-do hunters. Then the leopard became an obstacle to economic development and had to be destroyed. The first count of leopards was made in 1972, and the results were shocking. Using tracks in the snow to determine numbers, biologists Vladimir Abramov, Dmitry Pikunov, and Vyacheslav Bazilnikov determined that there were fewer than 40 animals left in the wild, and that these animals were hiding in the mountains, in the black fir and Korean pine forests of southwest Primorsky Krai, an area visible from Vladivostok across Amursky Bay. And today, just as 30 years ago, people wait for good snow to head out into the field. In an age of mind-blowing digital technologies and space travel, a new generation of biologists, tracking not in the traditions of Fenimore Cooper, but according to Formozov, Ashmarin, and Pikunov, takes off along trails, up hills and into valleys, logging dozens of kilometers a day in the steps of their predecessors. This generation, like earlier ones, can read at a glance and without skipping a line the detailed book of animal stories that are printed in the snow. And as earlier, along with a break for lunch, tired but refreshed by a steaming cup of tea at a campfire, and at times having to spend the night under a spruce tree, the tracking goes on. And as earlier, their primary tools are a belief in oneself, a sharp eye, and an old-fashioned tape measure. Each of these individuals can instantly differentiate a leopard track from a tiger or a lynx track. Although to get an explanation from them about the differences, in theory, well, they'll just shrug their shoulders. Each can accurately determine the freshness of a track by indicators specific to an animal. Each knows the size of a male's paw, the size of a female's paw, for each leopard has its own personality. Then, having returned from the field to warm winter apartments, these same personalities gather together for a large academic roundtable. And to the point of growing hoarse, they argue endlessly, each defending a personal opinion. And what comes from this discussion is an official truth, something called the latest results of a leopard survey. And each and every time, the final figure turns out to be painfully familiar, no more than 30 to 40 leopards. An alternative to snow surveys appeared on the scene about 5 years ago. A survey method that uses camera traps. Each leopard's coat has a totally unique pattern. A camera trap and a computer are totally dispassionate. Romance is left at the door and personalities play no role. But even so, the camera trap method gives the same result, 30 to 40. The latest official figures from the most recent surveys set the total number at 37 individuals. Our young fellow wasn't included in the count, either as tracks or a photo, for he was still in his cave. He has become number 38. Come spring, a female with kittens enters a season of plenty. Badgers move out of their winter burrows. Instead of an agonizing chase after a quick-hooved deer, our leopard can patiently wait on its prey under cover, sitting somewhere along the badger's trail. But in the land of the leopard, the warmth of spring brings fire. Fire arrived 100 years ago with the first immigrants. Fire arrived as part of a Western Russian agricultural tradition, and it has been used as a weapon in the struggle with an alien and frighteningly dark taiga. And so for 100 years, each spring and autumn, the land of the leopard is blanketed in the smoke of fires. Frightening, senseless, and merciless. Like an evil genie released from a bottle, these annual fires turn grasslands into uncontrollable fires. And the only way to save yourself from a fire is to start a backfire. Small plot holders start fires to save themselves from farmers, and farmers start fires to save themselves from small plot holders, while the railroad sets fires for all. The catch-22 is that you're not going to bust anyone for setting a fire, and besides, there's no one out there to catch